Relationship advice. Updated. My 27 female, half-sister, 8 female, is very violent towards me and hates me. I have to babysit her, but I'm going to give birth in 3 weeks and I can't take it anymore. Original story. My parents divorced when I was about 10 years old. My dad simply left and I've never heard from him ever since then. When I was around the age of 15, my mom met a new guy and married him. He and my mom have 2 children together, my half-sisters, 10 female and 8 female. The 10-year-old is a lovely girl and I really like spending time with her, but the 8-year-old is a literal demon. My mom recently got a new job, so both my mom and her husband are working in the afternoon now, which means that someone needs to take care of the girls when they come home from school. I was asked by my mom to babysit them and I agreed. She helped me a lot during my pregnancy, so I wanted to do her a favor. Here's where things get complicated. My half-sisters are very spoiled and basically get away with everything. However, the older can behave herself properly, whereas the 8-year-old cannot. She screams for hours, bites me, hits me, scratches me, and literally hates me. I wish I knew why, but I really don't. She has always behaved that way towards me even though I've always been nice to her. Last night, she even called me a witch and then screamed herself hoarse for 4 hours. Yes, 4 full hours of screaming. The younger sister's violent behavior is stressing me out really bad, and I wish I didn't have to babysit her, but I promised my mom I would do it. My mom and her husband know of her violent behavior towards me, but they don't see a problem with it, because they experience her tantrums as well. She's significantly less violent towards my mom and her husband, at least when I'm there, but she shows a very similar behavior. My husband, 29 male, is constantly in a state of distress because he wants me to rest at home instead of babysit my half-sisters at my mom's house. He's not happy about this situation at all, but I can't stop babysitting my half-sisters because there is no other option. My mom can afford a professional babysitter, but all of us agree that that's just not a safe option during a pandemic. What am I supposed to do? I can't keep babysitting, but I also can't stop right now because someone has to watch the girls. I really can't take this anymore. I'm tired and stressed out, and on top of that, I'm going to give birth in 3 weeks. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Your half-sister needs help, a kind of help you cannot provide. If your mom can afford a babysitter and won't do anything to prevent you from being hit, then she will have to pay for a babysitter. You are under no obligation to put yourself and your child in danger. What if she hurts your baby? You are already too stressed. And honestly, your baby comes first. It's going to be a hard conversation, but you have to tell your mom. Your mom and his partner are enablers, and if they really love their child, they should have her talk to a therapist. She shouldn't be forcing that on a babysitter either. OMG, that child needs serious mental help. This is nowhere near normal for a child to do, especially an 8-year-old. This is not your problem. You need to stop babysitting. Either your mom changes her schedule around or her husband does, or one of them quits. I personally would have quit to first say your half-sister laid her hands on you. I was waiting for this comment. Perhaps there's an unknown diagnosis on the spectrum, or perhaps the child has experienced some trauma. Could just be being raised not knowing the word no. Who knows? But she needs evaluated. As a nurse who works with a violent child in home care, please remove yourself from this situation before you are hurt. Also, I doubt very highly a professional sitter will stick around long with the above-described behavior either. What is your mother and father's childcare plan for once you give birth and are not able to babysit anymore? I was wondering that too. They will at least temporarily have to find an alternative, so why not make the alternative the permanent solution? OP, I'm so sorry you're having to experience this on top of being pregnant and on top of a pandemic. I think you did the best you could, and no one should fault you for wanting to back out, despite the previous arrangement made. Please discuss this with your mother, and let her know that your half-sister's behaviors have crossed many boundaries, and that you simply cannot continue for the sake of your health, your unborn baby's health, both physical and mental. Also, as others have said, your half-sister could benefit from therapy. And now for the update. I would like to thank everyone for the great advice. Most, if not all of the comments, highly suggested to stop babysitting my half-sisters, so I stopped. It's kind of funny now that the title of my post says, I'm going to give birth in 3 weeks because I went into labor only 3 days after posting that. Personally, I believe that the stress from babysitting my sisters caused the early labor, but I'm not 100% sure. The birth was okay and my baby is healthy. Well, but here's the unpleasant part. I have to stop having contact with my mom and my stepdad. They wanted me to continue babysitting despite me telling them that it's unsafe for me at this point. 2 days after I gave birth, my mom asked me to babysit my sisters again. It resulted to a horrible fight because I said no, and my husband had to kick out my mom out of our house. My husband is very relieved that I have ended contact with my parents and don't babysit my sisters anymore. He's an amazing father and supports me a lot because he knows that ending contact wasn't something I really wanted. I'm not planning to never have contact with my parents again, but I need some peace and quiet at least until the end of this year. Again, thanks for all the advice. I'll make sure that my sister 8 female will get the help that she needs, but now I need to focus on my own baby. Now, for some top comments. Nothing like someone demanding you babysit when you're 2 days postpartum to reveal that you weren't being the jerk. They were. Right? I wouldn't ask a new mom to pour me a glass of water when she already had a pitcher out. Imagine asking one to babysit. And she apparently showed up at Topi's house too? Mom is completely off her rockers. 2 days after I gave birth, my mom asked me to babysit my sisters again. Well, that just proves that her expectations were completely unreasonable and selfish. Yeah, that is unreasonable under any circumstance. That is a giant red flag for the type of person you're dealing with. Hi OP, I commented on your last post. I'm very happy to hear you and the baby are doing well. I'm sorry for all the other crap that happened. You don't deserve that. But right now you have a duty to your family. Keep contact low or none at all, for as long as you need to. I had to cut contact with my mom after she tried dragging my son into her drama. It's not easy, but the peace and quiet, I wouldn't trade for anything. Keep doing what makes you feel better and enjoy your baby. Happy holidays. Thank you so much. Now for the next story. Ex's boyfriend keeps being a jerk just because my son isn't his. For starters, I went out with this girl, Sonia, for a few months. I was always busy with work and only saw her whenever I had free time, which wasn't a lot. We only went out a few months before it ended. Then less than a year later, Sonia called me out of the blue to tell me she thinks her 1-month-old son might be mine. That's when I learned she had a boyfriend around the time we were dating, because the guy believed he was the father up until recently. Apparently, he found out she was cheating and demanded a paternity test. When they learned he wasn't the father, she reached out to me. We did a test, and it confirmed her son Jack was in fact mine. I pretty much became very involved in my son's life. To my surprise, her boyfriend Peter stuck around, and that just made things very uncomfortable when I started coming around to see my son. For a time, he just wasn't around whenever I came to visit. They're living together, and then after a couple months, we started seeing each other when I'd go. Peter would either completely ignore or openly glare whenever we were in the same room. And I get where he's coming from. I really do. I know it was a major blow, the most devastating news ever to learn Jack wasn't his. But I couldn't see why all the anger was directed at me when I didn't even know. It's been like this ever since. Even now that my son is over a year old, he still hates my guts and gives me the cold shoulder. The one thing that really became a problem since I became a part of my son's life was the fact that Peter was intentionally throwing any toys or clothes I'd buy for Jack. I know this because they don't have a lot of stuff for Jack, so how is it that everything I'd buy him would get lost? And only the things I'd buy him? Having a problem with me is fine, but getting rid of my son's things just because I bought them is completely unacceptable. And Peter always tried to play dumb, like he didn't know what I was talking about, even though his face made it so obvious. The last straw for me was last weekend. I left a quilt my mom bought for Jack on his first birthday at her apartment when I dropped him off one morning. It was raining that day, so I used the quilt to cover him. I asked for it back when I came to pick him up for the weekend, and she couldn't find it. Sonia said she left it in his room on top of his drawer that day, and now it wasn't there. Peter was there watching her look for it, and she asked him if he moved it. All he did was shrug and walked away. I finally got fed up and confronted him asking why it's always what I get him that disappears. Peter just started giving me attitude, and I basically told him I am sick of his nonsense. 1. It's not my fault he got cheated on because I didn't even know. And 2. He needs to stop disrespecting me when all I've been trying to do is be involved in my son's life. And also that whatever issues he has with me should not be taken out on my son and his things. I was pretty pissed off by the time I left, and Sonia was too for the way I talked to Peter. Nothing seems to have changed, and he's still being a jerk. I just don't know what I can do to make this easier. If we're both going to be in my son's life, I don't want him to grow up with that hostility whenever we're around each other. My fiancé is encouraging me to maybe try to hang out with him more, or really have a heart-to-heart, but honestly I doubt he'd ever be open to that. I'm at loss on what to do here. Every single thing I buy him can't continue to go missing. It's just messed up, and completely unfair to my son if he keeps up with that as he gets older. Now for the top advice. If I were you, I'd be doing what I could to get full custody of my child. That's a toxic situation. If this guy wants to stay around for your ex, he has to let go of the past, and if he can't, he shouldn't be around a child. I'd worry he'd eventually be taking out his anger on a kid. He shouldn't be around a child. I agree. I shudder to imagine how he treats the child when the OP isn't around, or, God forbid, the mother isn't there and he's alone with a kid for any length of time. The only thing I can suggest is talking to him, explaining that you had no idea and you are sorry she did that to him. But do not take it out on the boy, as it's for sure not his fault. If that doesn't work, he's always going to be a jerk, and that's that. He's aware that I didn't even know she was in a relationship with him back when we were dating. This is the only other time that I confront him about this, though. I hope that doesn't end up being the case, because I don't want this to get any uglier as my son grows up. Are they still together? Yes, they are. And honestly, I don't know why. I would have never stuck around after finding out she cheated, and wasn't even honest about who the father might be. Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you there. The issues with this I can see are, he's an idiot, and you can't reason with idiots. Or he's so in love with her, he's not going to blame her for being a terrible person, and that only leaves you. The last story is titled, My 34 female, mother 53 female, is being extremely creepy towards my son, 13 male. Please help. Me and my husband aren't our son's biological parents. We adopted him 6 years ago. Also, I'm not the greatest at expressing my thoughts, so if y'all need clarification, do let me know. My son and my mother used to spend Friday evenings together since 2017. My mom called it bonding days and always looked forward to them. After the first few times, my son didn't really want to go anymore, and only went because he didn't want to make grandma upset. Because of COVID, the bonding days had to come to a pause, and my mom didn't take it well at all. She would call me, my husband and son constantly, and beg for my son to visit. My last straw was when she called me crying, saying she needed him and wanted him. I was very weirded out, and blocked her on everything. Made my husband and son do it as well. Fast forward to 3 days ago, she basically showed up at our house and started banging on the door begging us to let her in. My son looked scared. Hell, I was scared too. My husband managed to send her away, thanks to police threats, but she showed up again yesterday, while my son was hanging out with one of his friends on the street. She was just watching them from her car. Thankfully, I spotted her and brought my son and his friend inside and basically went psycho on my mom. She was in tears by the end, and I don't think she's going to come back anytime soon. But I'm still scared. My son is absolutely terrified. He's been very quiet since, and is constantly in his room with our cat and refuses to go outside. I don't know what to do. I don't want to call the police because no matter how horrible she was, she's still my mother and I do love her. But the things she says about my son are very creepy, and he seems scared of her too. I'm at a complete loss. I know it sounds like I'm being overly dramatic, but I keep getting horrible vibes from her, and her behavior is extremely concerning. Please help. Now for the advice. You should be very open and honest with your son. Ask him if she's ever put him in a compromising situation or made him feel uncomfortable. Reassure him that all you want is the truth and is not going to be in trouble. You never know what lies groomers tell to manipulate their subject. I can't believe she hasn't already. She could have told him they'd get rid of him if he told. The fact that our son is now staying in his room and won't go outside is significant. I believe he thought he was safe at his own home, including outside on the lawns and pavements. But now even these areas have been poisoned and are no longer safe, because Grandma can drive up and get him. He feels safe in his room perhaps with the comfort of his cat. The poor kid. Makes me feel so sad. You need to extremely gently talk to your son. He is afraid of his grandma, terrified really. Perhaps talking to him in his room with a kitty standing by for comfort would be good. You have to find out why he's scared of his grandma and why he didn't want to go for bonding days after the second time. Whatever your son tells you has to be dealt with. If your mother turns out to be an abuser or to be actually violating him, you have to go to the police. Your first allegiance is to your son, not her. She could be doing things to him that have the power to absolutely destroy his soul and his life. It's extremely difficult to say this aloud, but I will definitely be going to the police if my mom has been mistreating my son. I'll talk to him using all the advice I got from all you lovely people. Thank you, truly. It really sounds like your mom has been mistreating your son. Trust your instincts. Something's very wrong here. I agree with the other commenter. You need to have a very gentle conversation with him about what goes on during bonding days. I'd recommend looking into a restraining order against your mom. Whether your son confides in you or not, he is obviously scared of her and her behavior is unacceptable. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for wanting a divorce after my husband gaslit me into believing him flirting with a co-worker was okay because I was just hormonal? I'm a 30-year-old female, married to my 34-year-old husband for over 6 years. We have 2 beautiful children, a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. We've been together for over 10 years, and our relationship has been amazing from the beginning. About a year ago, I was approximately 6 months pregnant. I noticed my husband paying more attention to his phone whenever he came home from work. So, one night during dinner when his phone kept dinging, I asked him about it. I asked, "Who has your attention lately?" It was a female co-worker who had just transferred to his department, along with a good colleague of his, in this group chat. I had never heard of this female co-worker, so I tried to play it off as my husband being nice to a new colleague. Days went by, and that phone became the bane of my existence. It constantly dinged, and I was fighting for his attention whenever he got home from work. I had enough, so one night while he was showering, I went through his phone. And there it was, the group chat, along with Instagram messages between just my husband and his female co-worker, teasing each other about work. I confronted my husband immediately and confessed that I had indeed gone through his phone. I was certainly embarrassed, as this was a first for me, but I explained that I had a hunch something wasn't right and needed to see it for myself. I pointed out that the group chat was quite unusual, but the private chats on Instagram were highly inappropriate for a married man. I simply requested that he refrain from having private chats with her, but I was comfortable with the group chat. He agreed and apologized for making me feel that way. A few months later, I am approximately 8 months pregnant. As we were returning home from a summer vacation, my son's iPad began dinging repeatedly in the backseat of my car. Unbeknownst to me, my husband had inadvertently connected his iCloud to our son's iPad. Suddenly, there she was, repeatedly appearing on the iPad, sending text after a text, and this time, there were even pictures. I was at my wit's end. I confronted my husband with such rage, anger, and distrust. His reasoning was, "You're just feeling hormonal right now. This isn't you. You're not the jealous, insecure type. Once you're no longer pregnant, you should get to know her, have a drink with her, and you'll like her." Using my own hormones and emotions against me, at 8 months pregnant. I unfortunately caved, believed him, and left it at that. Shortly after welcoming our newborn baby and adjusting to our new family of 4, we experienced pure bliss. However, our blissful state was short-lived as paternity leave ended and my husband returned to work, along with my husband's female coworker. One evening, after we had tucked the children into bed, I found myself browsing through my husband's phone, admiring pictures of our children. Ding, it's her. I instantly and without hesitation opened the conversation and my mouth dropped. It was a conversation where my husband was begging her to work a specialized assignment with just him. The two of them alone in a car, 5 days a week. I felt an instant wave of regret. Regret for not listening to my gut months ago and letting him gaslight me into thinking this situation was all in my head because of my hormones. Now I want a divorce, but my husband is now begging me to not ruin our family. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for breaking apart this family? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. It's so disingenuous of your husband to beg you not to divorce him when he was actively pursuing this other woman until you confronted him about his behavior. Had you not gone through his phone, he'd still be sniffing around that woman and lying to your face every day about it. You should most definitely divorce your husband. He's not worthy enough to be your partner. I did ask him this too. I asked him, what would happen if I never saw this conversation? He told me he'd most likely continue to lie to me about it. He lied and manipulated you in the most vulnerable moment of your life. And now he's saying you are the one ruining the family? You will never be able to trust him again with your vulnerability. Why stay? Leave him. There is nothing to save here. He's a master manipulator and you're easily manipulated. Please go into the next one with your guard up, and everyone who cares about you guards up. I never thought I was easily manipulated until now. Our entire relationship has been absolutely wonderful, so I was easy to make believe this was all in my head and heightened by my hormones while pregnant. It hasn't been until recently where I see my babes and think, you will not have a mother who is emotionally controlled by a man who wants to be a half-assed husband and father while he steps out on us while he's at work. You're not ruining your family. He did. He's proven that she is more important to him than his marriage, his wife, and his kids. Expecting you to put up with such blatant disrespect is mind-blowing. Put you and your kids first because he sure as heck isn't. Take screenshots of the text message threads and send them to your phone. Same with the Instagram messages. It's good to give these to your lawyer if you really plan to divorce him. And after consulting with an attorney, maybe send them to his HR department at work, especially if the pictures she was sending were the racy type. I'm actually friends with his boss's wife and may have already dropped hints about how I don't like this girl because she is a pick-me girl. I've planted the seed. Now for the first update. After reading all these comments and absorbing the advice, I finally realized that I'm not hormonal and not the sole reason behind this marriage failure. So, thank you for validating my feelings all along. As for my husband, I've asked him to leave the house until I've made a decision. Initially, he didn't believe me, but when I took the kids and told him he better not be here when I return with them, he was beside himself. He completely lost it. He's begged me to reconsider, offering to block her, leave his job, and do anything else to keep us together. But a few months ago, I politely asked him to stop texting her privately. His response was, I thought I was just being her friend. I didn't see it the way you did. What upsets me is that he didn't take me seriously back then, but now that I'm packing up our kids and leaving, he suddenly takes me seriously? We'll see what happens when I get home. To be continued. Second update. I returned home from an evening out with my kids, grateful that my husband respected my wishes and wasn't home when we arrived. After putting the kids to bed, I received a text from my husband asking if he could come over and talk so we could resolve our issues without involving the kids. I agreed. As soon as I opened the door, he handed me his phone. On the other line, I heard her, the female co-worker. She was saying, "Hello? Hello?" I immediately hung up his phone and demanded to know why he wanted me to talk to her. He claimed they had been discussing all night how they could convince me that they were nothing more than just good co-workers. I reminded him that this marriage is between the two of us, not three, and that the only person who needed to address this mess was himself. He insisted that I speak with her, and even had the audacity to suggest getting that drink I told you to get with her a few months back, when you were no longer pregnant and crazy. I told him, get out and have that drink for me, because we are done. It took considerable effort to get him to leave, as he sobbed about leaving his children, but I didn't care. He clearly still wants to gaslight me into believing that this is my issue with her, not his issue with disrespecting our marriage and his crazy hormonal wife. Now for the last update. Hi Reddit fam. It's been almost 5 months since I've updated all of you on my original post. I haven't forgotten about you all, and I've thought about updating many times. I was just waiting for the perfect moment, and I feel like now is that time. We are divorcing finally. Originally, we took some time apart to cool off, dig deep, and think about what we really wanted, while trying not to let any of this affect our children, to the best of our ability. We did couples therapy, individual therapy, and even a vacation away, just the two of us. Everything just felt like it was falling back into place, like before any of this was even a thing. I was starting to come to terms with the emotional affair and the gaslighting until, well, I'm sure you guessed it. The female coworker came back. Not that I think she ever left. I was so close to trusting him again, but for shiz and giggles, I went through his phone one last time. And by God, wouldn't you believe I found a picture of my husband in his female coworker's car running errands for her? I didn't need an explanation. I didn't even read the context of how or why he was there. I simply laughed. We put the kids to bed, and I said, "Do I need to make you an errand list in order to get your full attention?" He automatically knew exactly what I was referring to. I told him to get out and maybe call into work the next day because he should spend the day looking for a divorce lawyer. And really, that was simply it. We are currently in the divorce process, and it's going as smoothly as you can imagine. Getting all his legal advice from coworkers, laughing out loud. Again, I just wanted to say thank you all for all the love and support. My hormonal self thanks you from the bottom of my heart. Girl, I knew it. I am so proud of you for not falling for his BS. You gave him every chance, and he spit in your face, trying to convince you they were just friends. I'm curious, but did he run to her? I can only imagine if they weren't having relations before, they are now. However, it wouldn't look good in court to be in a relationship with the women you were having an affair with while claiming you weren't. Automatically untrustworthy liar. She sounds like someone who likes having men running after her. I can imagine now they have the opportunity to be together. She's gonna drop him so quickly. It would be this awful cycle where if you got back together, she thinks she can resume the dynamic because in her head she's doing nothing wrong. So, if he has a need to flirt with a female coworker, doesn't that make him hormonal? He is disrespectful and treating you like a child. Right? The projection is wild. If anyone was letting their emotions run the show, it was definitely him. Classic case of deflect and disrespect. Next story. Am I the a-hole for exposing my dad's affair during our family vacation? Last week, my parents took us on a family trip to a lake upstate. I work away a lot and haven't really been around to see them much, so it had been planned a while in advance at a cabin a relative owns, and we'd all been looking forward to meeting up again. My dad was acting kind of weird compared to the last few years the whole time, and didn't really engage as much as usual with our mom or the rest of the family, sitting in other rooms more often, doing nothing, and generally being disconnected. A couple of days in, we were having dinner, and I saw his phone dinging with notifications from Laura before he moved it from the table into his pocket. Out of curiosity, I looked at his phone while he was watching a movie in the other room. I know his password is my sister's birth year on everything. Turns out he'd been having an affair for months behind my mom's back. He had a ton of back and forth pictures and discussions about meeting up again with another woman. I was going to keep quiet and focus on finishing the trip before heading back, but crap hit the fan during an argument the night after. We collectively got drunk, and his behavior came up. Things got ugly fast, and I dropped a nuke by revealing I'd seen his phone and the other woman. Total meltdown. Mom cried, my sister yelled, and Dad called me a sneaky little shit for destroying the family. They left early, and now his side of the family is harassing me for not handling it privately, and it's miserable on my mom's side. But he was never going to tell her. Am I the a-hole for making sure she knew, even if I chose a poor moment? Now for the top comments. Bah ha ha ha, you're the sneaky little shit. When your dad is sneaking around and having an affair, projecting much pops? Your mom deserves to know the truth, even if it was a tough moment. Exactly. He made his bed. Let him lie in it and face the consequences. Not the a-hole. You owe him nothing. Not the a-hole. I will say, I might be a bit biased as someone who recently found out their husband cheated. But whether you told your mom, he told her, or she found out herself, the information would have sucked. She'd likely be crying anyway. I can't speak for her, but I'm glad you told her, especially if you think your father wouldn't have. Sure, maybe you could have pulled her to the side and told her privately, but she'd likely be feeling the same way. Also, you didn't destroy the family, he did. He lost his right for having things handled privately when he chose to privately message other women and keep it a secret. I am so sorry for your pain. It's a horrible journey. Is he even remorseful? He says he is, but actions speak louder than words, and the actions aren't actioning. Yep, I hope you don't consider reconciliation unless you really weigh things out. And Dr. Kathy Nickerson is a psychologist who specializes in infidelity. She does great videos on TikTok that are informative, and she has a book. But basically, unless they cut off affair, get into counseling, share passwords, etc., then they aren't even trying, and they want you to be their doormat. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying my special birthday dinners aren't special for me, and I don't want them anymore? For years, my mom and stepdad have only eaten out or gotten takeout from one place because of my step-siblings' allergies. Both have an allergy to peanuts and other kinds of nuts. My stepbrother 11 has a dairy allergy, and my stepsister 12 has a seafood and shellfish allergy. Their allergies were diagnosed around the time my mom met my stepdad. When we all moved in together, it became an allergen-free zone. I, 16 male, was 7 at the time. It didn't bother me too much until I realized how strict they'd be about it. Even though my stepbrother could be around dairy, I wasn't allowed ice cream or any chocolate that had milk in it. I couldn't eat pizza either because of the cheese. Then my parents found a restaurant that had no nuts, shellfish, or dairy, and they decided we'd never eat or order takeout from anywhere else. It's kind of vegan, but not strictly vegan, I don't think. I don't like their food. It all tastes weird to me. They don't even have regular fries on the menu. It's either another vegetable used as fries or sweet potatoes, which I hate. I hate eating out or ordering takeout because of it, and for years we've celebrated all our birthdays there with family. I found other nut-free restaurants that had allergy-safe menus, but my parents wouldn't even look at the menu. They said we had our restaurant and we didn't need another one. Whenever I asked if we could order from different places for my birthday, they'd say no. They said we always get takeout from there, and that's where we'll always get our food. A few times they said it's too much work to try out new places when we have it easy with our choice. My special birthday dinner never feels special because I can't eat anything I like. For a few birthdays, I was grumpy and withdrawn when we'd eat there, and my mom would tell me to change my attitude and appreciate what I have. And the family that gives me a special dinner for my birthday, that not all families could afford to eat out for their birthdays every year. Last year, when I turned 15, I got into a fight with my mom when I told her my birthday dinner should be something I like, and I didn't want to eat that nasty food anymore. Mom said that was such a disrespectful thing to say. And what about my step-siblings? What are they supposed to do if we go somewhere else? I said other than nuts, they can be around dairy or shellfish, and they're around all that stuff out in the wild. So why do I have to be punished because of their allergies? My stepdad told me to watch how I spoke because it would hurt my step-siblings' feelings and his, because he'd like to think us being a family and able to eat together was enough. When we got to the restaurant, I was miserable, and they kept correcting me for looking angrier than usual. After that, I swore I wouldn't do it anymore. So a couple of months ago, before my birthday last week, I told them I didn't want a special dinner or meal with the family, and I was done with eating as a family for my birthdays, and for anything else like my graduation. I told them it's not special for me. I hate it. I don't like the food, and I'd rather ignore my birthday than deal with that. They tried to plan a birthday dinner anyway, but nobody showed since the rest of the family knew how I felt. My parents are angry that I'm being this way, and my mom tried to make it about the step thing when this would be annoying even if it was just me and her. Who wants to eat crap they don't like on their birthday? Like, seriously, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Allergies can be incredibly dangerous, but there are ways to let other people live around those allergies. Your parents have instituted this policy out of laziness or fear and are upset that you're calling them out because they don't want to feel bad about being lazy and cowardly. They also don't like that other people now know about it. You're not responsible for their feelings, and they've ruined enough. I think their laziness is a big part of it, honestly, because I did the work for them, and they wouldn't even read or consider it. Your mom sucks, and you can tell her I said that. Not the a-hole. Make plans with friends from this point forward, or other family. Do you have a license now that you're 16? If so, you can eat in other places and not tell your parents. Talk to your step-siblings though, and let them know that it's not about them. I don't have a license yet, but I'm hoping to get it soon. Making plans with other friends I can and already do, but I'm not sure if my parents will try to stop that or something. With me rejecting the family dinners as they are, it's kind of a wild card of what their responses will be from here.